The rain was relentless as the Johnson family pulled into the animal shelter's lot. They had been discussing adopting a dog for months, and today felt like the right day. Inside, the shelter bustled with activity, but one cage immediately caught young Timmy's attention. The dog inside was unlike any they'd ever seen. His coat was a mix of black and gray, his fur sleek but battle-worn. His piercing golden eyes locked onto Timmy's with an intensity that stopped him in his tracks. The dog wasn't barking, wasn't wagging his tail. He just sat, staring, almost like he was assessing them. When Mrs. Johnson inquired, the shelter worker hesitated. "He's complicated. We found him abandoned in the woods, chained to a tree. No tags, no microchip. We've named him Hunter. He's incredibly smart but unpredictable." Timmy was already smitten. "Please, Mom, he needs us." Despite the staff's warnings, the Johnsons took Hunter home. But from the start, things felt off. Hunter was quiet, too quiet. He moved with eerie precision, his golden eyes constantly scanning their home. He didn't act like a dog, he acted like a soldier. And while he was gentle with Timmy, his behavior grew more unnerving with each passing day. One night, Timmy woke up screaming. Mrs. Johnson rushed to his room, finding Hunter standing by the window, growling low and menacing. Timmy pointed outside, trembling. There was someone there, he whispered. Hunter scared them away. The family dismissed it as a bad dream. But the next morning, they found footprints in the mud outside the window, and deep claw marks on the windowsill. As days turned into weeks, Hunter's behavior grew stranger. He would patrol the house at night, sniffing corners, growling at shadows. Mr. Johnson began finding small animals, birds, squirrels, even a fox, dead in the yard. It was as if Hunter was hunting, protecting. But from what? Mrs. Johnson's growing unease pushed her to take Hunter to the vet. She hoped to get answers, maybe some peace of mind. But the moment the vet examined Hunter, his face paled. "Where did you get this dog?" he asked sharply. "The shelter," Mrs. Johnson replied, startled. "Why? What's wrong with him?" The vet stepped back, his voice dropping. "This isn't a normal dog. He's been through something, trained for something. I'm calling the authorities." Before she could respond, 2 police officers entered the clinic, their faces grim. They approached Mrs. Johnson cautiously. "Ma'am, this dog is a suspect in an ongoing investigation. We believe he belonged to a criminal organization. He's dangerous." Mrs. Johnson was stunned. "No, you're wrong. He's just a dog." The officers exchanged a look. "This dog is trained in attack and tracking. We've been looking for him for months." At that moment, chaos erupted. The clinic windows shattered as 2 masked men burst in. Guns drawn, they shouted, "Give us the dog, and no one gets hurt." Hunter reacted instantly. He launched himself at one of the intruders, his growls feral, his movements precise. The man screamed as Hunter's jaws clamped down on his arm, disarming him in seconds. The second intruder hesitated, then fled. The police subdued the injured man while Hunter returned to Mrs. Johnson's side, blood dripping from his teeth but his golden eyes calm, watchful. The officers were in disbelief. "He's not just any guard dog," one of them muttered. "He's military grade. Someone trained him to kill." That night, the Johnsons learned the truth. Hunter had belonged to a notorious smuggler who used him to guard illegal operations. When the smuggler was arrested, Hunter was abandoned, left chained in the woods. The organization had been hunting for him, knowing he was a liability, and now, the Johnsons were targets too. Their once quiet suburban home became a fortress overnight. The family barricaded windows, installed cameras, and kept Hunter close. But the enemy wasn't done. A week later, just past midnight, Hunter began growling low in his throat. Mr. Johnson looked out the window and saw them, figures moving in the shadows, surrounding the house. Before he could call the police, the power went out. In the pitch darkness, the intruders attacked. Windows shattered, doors were kicked open. The Johnsons huddled together, fear gripping them. But Hunter was ready. He became a blur of motion, taking down one intruder after another with terrifying precision. His golden eyes glowed like flames in the chaos. The family could only watch, frozen, as their once mysterious dog turned into a fierce protector. By the time the police arrived, the house was a war zone. The intruders were subdued, most incapacitated by Hunter's relentless defense. One officer looked at the bloodied dog and said, "You don't own him. He owns you. And you're lucky he does." In the days that followed, the Johnsons faced a choice: give Hunter up to the authorities or fight to keep him. They chose the latter, determined to protect the creature who had risked everything for them. Hunter's past remained a shadow, but his future was clear. He wasn't just a dog, he was family. And no one, no criminal, no threat, would ever change that.
Imagine the countless untold tales of bravery and loyalty between humans and animals. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling and heartfelt stories that remind us of the extraordinary power of trust and courage.